Hello, and welcome to quick and easy gardening tips for families that are super busy. And moms, I know that you're especially busy. So this is especially for you and how to help maximize your time in a life skill like gardening. So today we're going to be covering the challenges of gardening, time-saving tips, and how to make gardening a part of your everyday, little by little. Hi, I'm Alicia, and I'm a mom of 3. I've been homeschooling for the last 17 years and counting. My youngest son has autism, and he is with me out in the garden. That's where we connect. My oldest son, who helped me start gardening over 10 years ago, who is now 21 years old, he is the reason that I started that first garden with so much reluctancy. I had killed everything green, and through that garden, our little family learned not only to bond, but to help each other and to find some new life in things that were happening in our tiny little home in Los Angeles. Now I'm pursuing my horticultural certification through UCLA. I have become a gardenary designer, and I am certified as a Garden Life Lab teacher for schools and children's programs. So I am all about integrating the busyness of life into our garden and making it a space where we can bond, have life skills, and connect with one another. And I want to help empower people like you to be successful in the gardening journey. So I have courses, I have one-on-one coaching, I have a lot of different things that can help you. So check me out on my website. But first, I need you to picture this. I need you to picture that you're outside on a sunny day and you're with your family and everybody has their hands in the soil and you guys have laughter. And during this time, you're not only planting like seeds in the garden for the next season, but you're also beginning to sow the roots of a life skill that's going to bloom in your kids' lives forever. And as a busy family, I think that we often ask ourselves, how do we keep things going? Especially in a garden when it needs so much from us. So imagine that your garden doesn't take away from you, but instead with just about 10 to 15 minutes every day or every other day, your garden is adding to what your schedule is. It's adding to your life. It's giving you fresh food. It's giving you time together, and it's adapting to what you are able to give it. So this is a picture of my 2 oldest kids over 10 years ago. It's been such a long time since we first started gardening together. But those first carrots, that was our first garden that my son Daniel pulled up some carrots and my daughter Bethany. And we only had a tiny little space in Los Angeles. And that garden started to give us more than what we gave it. And so that's what I want to encourage you as you're listening to some of the tips and challenges of this next few minutes, that you would be open to being willing to see what a garden can do for you in just a few minutes. Gardens and children need the same things: patience, love, and someone who will never give up on them. I remember my first attempt at a garden. I failed miserably. Like I said, my oldest son begged me to have a garden when he was 10. He's 21 now. And I was like, nope, I'm not going to do gardens. I kill everything green. But his sweet little face was like, Mom, I just want to plant something and watch it grow. How could I say no to his request? So I was excited and hopeful and full of dreams on that first fresh season, and everything turned yellow. And my garden was missing some major nutrients from the soil company that we had ordered soil from. I didn't know that. But once we put in the right nutrients and we threw in some more seeds, that garden started flourishing. The success of my garden was based on how it was set up. And with the soil, when it wasn't right, then the setup wasn't right. So I just want to encourage you that gardening is about failure, it's about successes, and it's about learning and progressing together. So what has stopped you in the past from doing stuff in the garden or from trying to learn this new life skill or from continuing it from just one season of summer? Is there a lack of time? Sometimes we have so much going on specifically with homeschooling or work that keeps us from getting out into the garden for even just 10 minutes. Is it a limited knowledge? Maybe you're not sure where to start. I know when I first started, I didn't have any friends and I didn't have any resources over 10 years ago to help me and encourage me to go ahead and garden. And sometimes I felt just a fear of failure. I didn't want to start something and have everybody be able to see that garden was not being effective. But gardening is a place that helps you watch and adjust and grow. And not only for yourself, but grow as a family. So let's talk about some time-saving gardening tips, especially for making your life more efficient as a busy mom. So I'm here to help you understand the needs and to teach you how to care for it in the way that fits your schedule. Your schedule is super important. And I want to turn what could be a daunting task of gardening into a very enjoyable and rewarding space. Sometimes I get on social media and I see people sweating and hot from exhaustion from being in their garden. And I just want to say it doesn't have to be like that. So we're going to talk about how you can make it so it's enjoyable and not hot, exhausting, and sweaty all the time. Gardening can be challenging, but with the right tools, the right guidance, and the right setup, it doesn't have to be. So just a little seed turns into a flourishing plant. Just like we are teaching our kids that when they have challenges and when they have things that don't work, they can be an opportunity to encounter something for growth and success. So let's talk about this. In simplicity, there is freedom, and freedom to do less and enjoy more. And that's what I want to encourage you with the garden. Keep it simple. The first tip that I want to help you out with is pre-plan and organize. And if you're in the cooler months right now, even in winter, this is the perfect time as a family to go ahead and start planning out your garden together. If you sit down and go ahead and get a piece of paper, you guys can think about a location that you may already have for your garden or that you want to have. The most important part about that location for success, and this is called the simple gardening method of success. It's a 4-part system. The location needs to be someplace in the summer where it's 6 to 8 hours of sun. Or in the fall and spring, there needs to be at least 4 to 6 hours of direct sun. If sun is not happening, then your garden will not be successful. I worked with a client this last year that said all she wanted to do was grow a tomato plant. She had failed every year. So she and I talked and processed through the location of where her tomato plants had normally been. And they had been in a place that had gotten more shade than sun. So we talked about moving her location. She went ahead and moved her location of her tomato plants, and she had 8 thriving tomato plants. It was amazing. So the location can make all the difference in the world. Maybe you're going to be using containers and pots. Go ahead and place those where the sun is going to find them so that your things can grow. The second most important part of the simple gardening method is the soil. Soil is the key for the nutrients, for the roots to find all that it needs to be able to feed the plants. If the soil is bad, then it's going to be really difficult to have a garden that's growing and thriving. When the soil is healthy, you don't have to worry about as many bugs eating things or attacking. You don't have to worry about the health because the plant is fighting off a lot of stuff for you. The third part of the simple gardening method is consistent watering. And this is something that's really hard specifically for kids, is a lot of times they want to water too much or too little. And I consider it to be kind of like Little Red Riding Hood. When she went in and she tasted the different porridges, the hot porridge was too hot and the mama's porridge was too cold, but the baby's porridge was just right. When the roots of your plants, and you can describe this to your kids, when the roots of the plants get just enough water, it's able to transport up the roots to the stem all the nutrients. When it has too much water, then it's like soggy socks and things just can't move. And just like you feel yucky when your socks get all wet and you just don't want to move, neither do the roots and the nutrients. So you want to think about your roots getting just enough water. So teaching our kids to water just enough and doing soil tests, we'll talk about that, will really help. The fourth thing you want to sit down and talk about with the simple gardening method is to have the right plants in the right seasons. The second tip in helping your garden to be super efficient and easy to maintain is to choose low maintenance plants. What do I mean by low maintenance? Low maintenance means native plants that are adapted potentially to your climate or the soil conditions. This is lavender in the very first picture that's purple. And lavender in my zone, I'm in zone 9 in Northern California, it will grow all year outside. And when it's cold, it's able to adapt to the cold and able to come back. And I only have to plant this native plant once. Wherever you live, there are native plants that can be very beneficial to your ecosystem and to your garden, making it easier to garden when you only have to plant it once. Another type of plant that's a perennial that I absolutely love to plant is asparagus, and that's what you see in the second picture. Asparagus you plant once. It takes 3 years to be able to get the first production that you eat. And then after that, you get to enjoy asparagus in the springtime, coming up on its own with no help for 15 to 20 years. How wonderful would it be to have some perennial plants already established or thinking that you want to establish around your garden? One thing that I love to plant is rosemary on the corners of my garden. It's a protector. It keeps bad bugs out. It keeps pests out. And it's wonderful for my kids to calm down and be able to be close to rosemary. And I use it with chicken. I use it with a lot of different things in health for our bodies. So planting low maintenance plants is a big tip. Third tip for helping to keep your garden efficient is to have a watering system of some kind. You know, when it's 100 degrees outside, which it happens for quite a few days in my area, I do not want to go outside and water. And so when I have my watering system with an automatic timer and a drip system, it creates such freedom. So that is something that will save you time and money because of the efficiency of the watering system that you set up once. You'll check it every season, but it creates a lot of freedom. So this is something that I really want to encourage you, that if you don't have a little watering system, taking a hose with a timer connected to your garden bed or some of your containers, it will really be a game changer. If you don't have to regulate that, then it'll really help. The fourth tip that helps with efficiency is mulching and composting. So what do I mean by that? Mulching is something that I put around on top of the soil to help reduce the need for weeding and watering. In the winter time or in the cold, when I mulch, it insulates and actually keeps the plants warmer. In the summertime, when I mulch, it actually keeps the plants cooler. For mulching, different things that you can use for mulching, you can use straw, you can use shredded leaves, you can also use stalks of different plants that you've cut down around that area. When I do a cover crop, I chop it down and I leave the cover crop as part of my mulch. The second thing that I use for mulching is a compost pile. So composting. If you have your own compost pile going on, that is wonderful. A lot of times my garden is so big, or I just don't have time, that my compost is not ready for me to use. So I go ahead and I pick up organic compost from a local nursery, and I use that 2 to 3 inches on top of all my soil, and I use that as a protector or as an actual mulch. And what that does is it not only continues to break down the great nutrients, but it protects everything underneath, all the roots and things that are happening. By using a low maintenance technique like mulching or composting, you are adding time and energy to your garden that you're not even having to do once you put it on there. The fifth tip that I'd like to share with you is that you can have the right garden tasks for the right ages. So involving your whole family in gardening can save you so much time and can provide a lot of great learning experiences for your children. Younger children can help with tasks such as watering plants or picking up fallen leaves. Elementary age children can have more complex tasks like planting and pruning and weeding. Teens can have things like planning and preparing the garden for each season. I have a family in one of my courses that the 13-year-old son has taken over the planning and the preparing, and he'll email me and just say, hey, I'm thinking about adding this to my garden. What do you think? And we go back and forth, and it's really exciting to see him being able to visualize that garden coming to life because he's already been doing it for a whole year. And you, as you see your garden growing with each new season, find spaces that you really enjoy about gardening and dive into that just a little more each season. For me, I like to add one new element of the garden. So this last year I added some blueberry bushes in those cloth containers, and that brought me so much joy being able to eat blueberries this last beginning of summer. It was so much fun, and it's something that I wanted for so many years. So I have some resources to help you with this fifth tip that I've created, and those resources are underneath this video, so you want to grab those. The first resource is a list of gardening tasks that are age appropriate for your kids. The second really cool resource are bingo cards for your kids. That the first bingo card are for younger children, and the older card is for older kids with more complex, different things to do together. And the idea is that you make gardening fun, that you pick things that they can do with you, and that they're going to be growing in the garden with you through the years. And you're going to have a task for everybody because everyone's a part of this together, which then lightens the load, right, for the garden in general. And you might be surprised what your kids pick up and learn. My oldest, who's now 21, a few years ago, because of our gardening experiences, he decided to work on an organic farm up the road. And he spent an entire year planting and growing next to these organic farmers. And now to this day, I don't see him without a plant. When he comes home from college, he brings all his plant babies so that we make sure that he waters them and takes care of them. So that's kind of an exciting, fun thing to watch as I see him taking responsibility even with his plant babies. So I just want to encourage you, in summary, I want to encourage you that with these 5 tips that I've shared today, you can create a garden that doesn't take more than just a few minutes a day to do and to be a part of as a family. And so the pre-planning is super important. Number 1, get your hands, before you even get your hands dirty, sit down and just sketch it out, draw it out, see where the sun is happening in your yard. Go ahead and decide, should we do a couple containers just to test this out and have fun? Should we go ahead and see if there's a piece of land that's ready for some planting? Or do you have an empty raised bed that you only use one part of the year and you want to actually grow all year long? Low maintenance is the second tip. Keeping low maintenance plants around really helps reduce the amount that you need to spend tending your garden. Once you plant that herb that's a perennial, or once you plant that fruit tree, or once you plant that fruit bush like a blueberry or an asparagus, you will have those from years to come if you continue to water it efficiently. The second thing is efficient water. With the watering system, that can save you so much time and ensure that your plants are receiving the right amount of water that they need. This was a game changer for me, and the first thing I add to any of my clients is to make sure they have a watering timer that doesn't cost a whole lot, connected to a hose, and then irrigated with a drip system. So you can make it very simple. For mulching and composting as the fourth tip, huge game changer also for me. As the more compost I put on as my mulch, the more my plants are protected and loved, and nutrients are continuing to go down into the roots and then up into the plant. And finally, the best part is getting some really fun tasks for your kids to feel like this garden is theirs too. And being able to share those experiences as a family saves a lot of time. So I just want to remind you that in simplicity, there is freedom. Freedom to do less and enjoy more. And that's what a garden is supposed to do in just a few minutes a day. Integrating a little of your garden in every day becomes a life skill. These are my 3 kids 10 years ago. They were ready to do gardening with me little by little, and each of them had different skill levels. And each of them now have been exposed to the skill of life gardening, and it's become invaluable for each of them. I just want to encourage you that you can do this too with your family. Make sure to grab the free download for A Busy Mom's Guide to Age-Appropriate Gardening Tasks that's below here. And if you are more interested in wanting to do this with support, I offer a 12-week life skill gardening family course that for 12 weeks, I take you through nothing to garden, and I have a weekly Zoom, and lots of great materials to help support you in gardening as a family. That course will be open in March. Thank you so much, and grab the download. Check out my website at createmygarden.net or follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Create My Garden. I would love to be a part of your gardening experiences.